One of the most common things many of us had growing up in a typical African home was this: remember whose child you are. And depending on how it was said, that sentence could mean different things. Sometimes it meant carry yourself well, make us proud because you represent this family. But sometimes it felt like pressure, like you couldn't afford to make mistakes, like your behavior was bigger than just you. And recently, I've been thinking about that phrase, and it makes me wonder what identity scripts were written into us by our parents, by culture, by society, or even by the quiet beliefs we formed about ourselves. Because whether we realize it or not, all of us are living from a script. The real question here is, who wrote yours? Last time we asked a difficult question: have you actually met yourself? Now, once you begin that journey, something uncomfortable can happen. You start noticing that some of the things you believe about yourself might not actually be yours. They may be inherited, or cultural, or perhaps as survival strategies. So today, let's begin. Let's go back to the beginning. In Genesis 1 verse 27, scripture says we were created in the image of God. Pause and think about that. Before your parents called you anything, before school labeled you or society defined success, God spoke first. Your original identity was image bearer. Not too emotional, not too quiet, not the strong one, not the difficult one. Image bearer. And that means something. Romans 8 tells us we did not receive a spirit of fear, but a spirit of adoption, which means your identity at its core is not fear, it's not shame, it's not performance, it's belonging. But let's be honest, most of us didn't grow up hearing, you are God's workmanship. Instead, we heard things like this: you are the responsible one, you are the stubborn one, that's the quiet one, or sometimes you are the smart one, don't disappoint us. And over time, those statements stop being descriptions, they become definitions. And once something becomes a definition, you start living from it, you perform it, even when it no longer fits who you truly are. So here's the question worth asking: is this who I truly am? Or is this who I adapted into? Because sometimes what we call personality is actually protection, and what we call confidence is compensation. That is just how I am sometimes. It's simply an old script running on autopilot. Now let's get practical with this. Get a piece of paper and divide it into two columns. Label one what I was told I am. And be honest. Write the labels, even the subtle ones. On the other side, label it what God says I am. And start with the scripture. I am made in God's image. I am chosen. I am God's workmanship. I am loved. I am adopted. Then sit with both lists you have made and ask yourself, which voice has been louder in my life and which one have I been living from? Identity is not something you hustle for. It is something you receive. When your identity is rooted in God, you stop trying to prove yourself in every room. You stop shrinking to be accepted. Oh, you stop overperforming to feel valuable. Because you are no longer reacting to a script written by pressure. You are responding to truth. Truth about who you are. So I want to ask you again, who told you who you are? And are you still living from that voice? Or are you ready to let God rewrite the script? If this resonated with you, I would like you to share one truth from the scripture about your identity that you are choosing to embrace going forward. Let's rewrite identity scripts together. And if these conversations are helping you, like, share, and subscribe so we can keep growing together in truth. I am Omolayo, the purpose midwife, and here we examine scriptures and turn it into practical wisdom for everyday living. And I'll see you in my next episode.